having been at the NSUWT conference. So she's such a role model for women in terms of the strength that we need to be trade unionists. So I just want us to applaud her again, really. That genuinely is what the international work of the trade union movement should be about. So, now to my remarks. President, conference, Christine Blower, General Secretary of the National Union of Teachers, and according to the Sunday Times, Bob Crow with pencils. Because I can tell you that being your General Secretary is probably the best job in the trade union movement. Let me first congratulate our new President on her conduct of conference. And let me also congratulate all the first-time delegates. Yeah. And I should say, not just by speaking, although that has been absolutely brilliant, but also by wanting to be here, by being active members who want to participate in this, our supreme policy-making body. I think this has been a great conference. Thank you very much. The National Union of Teachers is proud to organise across England and Wales. We are a union for two nations. And if we were ever at risk of forgetting that, we'll have the President to remind us at every turn. Chalk slates to iPads and back. I thought it was an inspired title, a summary of both the progress that we've made in education and as a society, but also as a sharp reminder that there are now significant turns for the worse. In a country like ours, how can it be that 1 in 5 children lives in poverty? How can it be that 1 in 3 children doesn't own a book? How can it be that when we know that they were a huge success, that 400 Sure Start centres have closed? And how can it be that something called the Welfare Uprating Bill will actually push 200,000 children into poverty, and that the Institute for Fiscal Studies predicts a growth in child poverty of 400,000 between 2011 and 2015. That makes a total of 800,000. And in 2020, that will be that kind of number, the very year in which the Child Poverty Act, the commitment to end child poverty, is supposed to be realised. We'll miss it by a mile, I'm afraid. How is it that 72% of teachers in the union survey with the Children's Society said that they had experience of children coming to school with no lunch and no possible means to buy one? And that in the same survey, 2/3 of teachers said they'd given children food or money because they were clearly hungry. While we in this hall know the answer to these questions, the President certainly knows the answer to this question. The answer are that far too many people in this country are living in poverty, including the working poor. There are children whose parents are in work, and because they're in work, they are unable to claim free school meals, but they earn so little that children are unlikely, actually, to be able to buy a meal. We have a government that has priorities which are not ours. They're the wrong priorities: tax cuts for the rich, job loss and benefit cuts for the poor, boardroom pay, advancing up way above inflation, while millions live on less than it takes to keep body and soul together. We are a hideously unequal society, with the rich getting richer and the rest left behind. And now the bedroom tax. Taking money from tenants because they have the temerity to live in accommodation with an extra bedroom. Well, lots of people have mentioned this, but I just want you to think about this. By contrast, the new Governor of the Bank of England, whose salary will start at £375,000 a year, probably not performance related, and will go up quite a lot year on year, he's getting a housing allowance, what you might call housing benefit, of £5,000
a week.
A week. £5,000.
Shame.
And still there are questions in the press about whether that's really enough
Yes.
to be able to have the kind of house that the Governor of the Bank of England should live in. Now, our guest speakers, Mark and Owen, talked about all of these matters. And we've heard echoes of it throughout the debates this week. Austerity clearly isn't working, but it's certainly not working for the people about whom we're concerned, maybe working for some other people. So we absolutely have to go on saying no, because there clearly are alternatives. And we heard them from Owen, we heard them from Mark, and Frances O'Grady, still our quite new General Secretary, TUC General Secretary. She's committed the TUC to working hard on all these fronts for a future that works. Youth unemployment and in-work poverty, that's not a future that works. Benefit cuts, and that's not a future that works. As a TUC affiliate, we commit ourselves to working with others in the TUC to make progress on all these areas, on jobs, on pay, on growth, on the scourge of youth unemployment, and of course, on coordinated action on all of these fronts, because the children we teach and their families deserve nothing less. Now let me focus in for a moment on our own organisation. The NUT is a dynamic organisation, and we can see that across both the lay structure and our employed structure. A look at our staffing will show that we're moving and making changes to respond to the changing landscape. We've recruited more organisers and a cadre of division support officers to support, as the name suggests, divisions. Actually, you heard people speak about them this morning. The executive will keep this development under review, and we are absolutely expecting great things from them. We also have a new head of education and equalities. Many of you already know her from her previous work for the union. Ros McNeil took the lead in the Education and Equalities Department on April the 1st, and I look forward to working with her. I'm sure she'll do great things for us. And I want to say...
Where is Ros? Where is she?
I want to place on record at this point my thanks to Summer Garg, who carried responsibility in the interregnum, but has now returned to what is probably her first love, our international work in the union. She's returned to being our international relations officer, and I'll talk about international work a bit later. There will also be a big change in the South East with the retirement of Marion Dark, whom we'll miss.